Today's guest is a man that defines what it means to be resilient, tough, strong, gritty, and passionate. He started out as a sales merchandiser and has moved up and transitioned to a sales and logistics planner at Coca-Cola. He's got some badass tattoos, and today I had the privilege and the honor of chatting with him about how a simple routine checkup turned into his doctor asking him how he is not dead. We're gonna jump into surgeries, before and afters, what his family went through, what he was going through, 3 a.m. in the hospital by himself, all the mental resilience, how he came out and on top of all this crazy stuff. Welcome to today's episode, Mr. Steven Ambrosino. Long time no see.
I know. It's been about 10 months at this point.
Yeah, that's crazy. So, how are you doing? How are you feeling and everything?
Pretty good. And so after what we're going to be talking about happened, it was a little rough at first. I'm back to 100%, back in the gym multiple times a week and feeling like nothing even happened.
How many times a week?
Doing about 3 times a week.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. That's really good.
Yeah. Honestly, it feels like nothing even happened at this point.
That's crazy. What a turnaround and everything.
I know. Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, for Steven in particular, started out as a sales merchandiser for Coca-Cola, then moved into his current role as a sales and logistics planner in the corporate office in Florida. His position reevaluates logistics schedules, so the store deliveries, based on their revenue, and then reevaluate the sales reps' routes based on the new data. How long have you been with Coke?
A little over 5 years. I'm going on 5.5 years coming up.
Is it the best job you've ever had?
It is, yeah. Yeah, it's definitely the most consistent and just overall it's the best group of people and best company I've worked for based on like the overall culture of the company.
How were you able to get into that role? How were you first able to get into Coke and then move up or go into a different department?
Yeah, so I actually knew a few people that worked out in the field as sales merchandisers, and they were always trying to get me on board. At first, I was kind of hesitant to do it because I was working at a law firm at the time, working part time at Publix, like when I was fresh out of college, and I wanted to see where my path went with that. And the people I knew working for Coke were really persistent with me getting on board because they liked how I worked, and frankly, we became friends after knowing each other for a while. Decided working at the law firm wasn't for me. The work itself was easy, but couldn't see myself being happy there long term. So I reached out to the people I knew at Coke and was like, hey, look, I want to apply. Do you guys know of anything you're looking for? They got back to me pretty much right away saying, hey, we're actually in need of a lot of people. We'll get you set up with like a recruiter. Applied, got set up with a recruiter, and basically got the job within a 2 week span. And it was during the pandemic that I started. And when I tell you we were working crazy overtime, if we worked less than 55, 60 hours in a week, we would look at each other and be like, all right, what did we miss?
Crazy.
Everyone was still in panic mode from the pandemic. So I was able to get my foot in the door really easy because they couldn't find anyone to stay on long term. And then I worked out in the field for about a year and a half ish, a little less than a year and a half as a sales merchandiser. And then since I had bachelor's degree already, it helped me get my foot in the door in the corporate office, and I was able to make the right connections, meet the right people when I was interacting with the higher ups. And it was a relatively easy transition going from the field to corporate based on who I was meeting in my education background.
I feel like in today's day and age, kind of hard to get a new job unless like connections. It seems like the resume itself doesn't work. I wanted to ask you, did that impact your mental health? Meaning, you said it only took you like 2 weeks. That's pretty fast for
Yeah,
getting
it was.
a new job. So that didn't work out in the 2 weeks. How do you think it would have affected your mental health?
I honestly think I would have gotten to the point that I was miserable at my job. Definitely would have affected me in the sense that I just wouldn't have been happy. Already felt myself getting to the point of I don't want to do this long term. The people I work with, like I could tell like the people that worked in legal side that I was a part of, they were, to put it bluntly, miserable, primarily because of the work. It's like they all had families at home, they all had great material objects
Hmm.
that you would think from an outside view would make someone happy, but it didn't. And I didn't want to fall down the path that had everything I wanted at the expense of my own happiness.
Was it one of those transitions where like you were looking at everyone where like you basically just had to be like I have to believe in myself in order for this to happen because there wasn't an influence or something in the role or the department that you were trying to go to?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now we're gonna actually jump into the story, juicy details with that. And you told me what had happened. I was shocked. I was just like, I
Yeah.
mean, I can only imagine how you were,
Yeah.
obviously,
Yeah.
but I was just like, wow, here where you're at currently, it's incredibly inspiring, motivating,
Hmm.
and yeah, a lot of people deserve to hear it and be
Hmm.
inspired. So I thank you for taking time for talking about this. So he had a routine checkup, right? It was a routine checkup.
Yes.
Your doctor told you, how are you not dead, right?
Yep.
I'm gonna let you dive right into it.
Before I get into the juicy details, I need to back up a little bit before that specific
Yeah,
doctor's
for sure.
appointment to give a better perspective.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
I was just giving a basis.
Yeah. So if we go back to when this whole situation started, back in May, I ended up having a gallbladder attack. Nothing too drastic, happens to a lot of people, not a big deal. At the time, I didn't realize it was a gallbladder attack. So I ended up going to the hospital because I was like, why am I in so much pain? This is crazy. And it was so severe, it made me almost pass out.
Yeah, that's
So
crazy.
get to the hospital, they do all their checks. They're like, you have gallstones, you're going to have to get your gallbladder taken out. Follow up with a general surgeon, and then you'll be able to go from there. And they're like, in a lot of situations, gallstones can be cholesterol based. And if they end up being cholesterol based, follow up with a cardiologist. End up being with a general surgeon to talk about getting my gallbladder removed because the stones were too big to pass on their own. So I needed it removed so it didn't cause long term issues. No big deal. End up getting my gallbladder taken out.
No big deal. No big
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah. So all that is fine. Recovery is fine. Like I'm literally only out of work for 2 days because it's something easy to deal with. The gallstones did end up being cholesterol based, so she did a bunch of blood work. She did an EKG just to make sure like my heart sounded good and like all my blood work was coming back good. This is where everything starts to go downhill, but we don't realize it at first. 99% of my blood work came back good. I always knew I had high cholesterol, so when the cardiologist was like, "Oh, you have high cholesterol," I was like, "I've had it since I was born. It's a genetic thing." And she was like, "All right, we're going to start you on medication then." EKG came back fine, and she was like, "You are a healthy 30-year-old male at the time." And she was like, "I wouldn't think anything is wrong with you." Her knowing my family history of heart issues, she was like, I do want to do one more test on you that I normally wouldn't do on someone your age. But since my dad got stents put in a few years prior, she didn't like that my dad was as young as he was when he got stents put in. So my dad was in his late 50s when that happened. CT angiogram of my heart, which is essentially 3D mapping of your heart to see if there's any blockages and to see the condition your heart is in. 2 weeks go by, I get that test done. Great. As we were talking about before, like I was very active in the gym, going multiple times a week. I didn't feel like anything was wrong. I didn't feel like I was like, oh my God, like I need to turn my life around type of feeling.
Yeah.
I just felt like a normal 30-year-old man would feel. And about 8 hours after, and they get the results, I'm getting a call from the hospital. You need to drop what you're doing right now. You need to come back to the hospital. We cannot tell you why over the phone. We should not have let you leave the hospital.
What were you doing at that moment, and what exactly went through your head at that moment?
I was getting ready to go into Domino's for my second job. So for after working my normal like shift at Coke, I'm thinking to myself, what the hell are you talking about? I need to come into the hospital. I feel fine. Like, stop overreacting. My wife is right next to me hearing them say that, and she starts to panic. And
Of
she's like,
course.
no, you need to go to the hospital right now. Because I was thinking to myself, I can just go do my shift at Domino's and then go to the hospital after. She
Yeah.
was like, nope, you need to go right now. You're not going to like your shift. I was thinking to myself, all right, like this is not fully sinking in yet that it was like a big deal. And I was like, no, it's not a big deal. Like they're just like freaking out over nothing. They wouldn't tell me what was wrong over the phone. And when I got to the hospital, they told me that they didn't want to tell me what was wrong over the phone because they didn't want me to essentially have a heart attack on the way to the hospital.
Was it a sunny day? Was it a rainy day? Do you remember it all?
Clear skies, normal Florida day.
It just goes to prove that anything can happen to anyone
Yeah.
on a regular day.
They got me admitted right away, and I was like, why are you admitting me? Like, what is going on? Like, can you guys please tell me what's going on? And my cardiologist finally got there, and she was like, look, you have three major blockages in your heart. One of them's 99% blocked. And she was like, how are you not having chest pain? How have you not have a heart attack yet? You are literally a ticking time bomb. And that's when they basically said to me, how are you not dead?
In that moment right there, do you remember it all, or was it kind of just like a
Yeah,
blackout?
I remember thinking to myself, what are you talking about? I have three major blockages and that I should be symptomatic. I was like, I feel fine. I was like, I went to the gym yesterday and I feel great. I was having such a hard time believing what was going on until they actually showed me scans and everything of my heart to where the blockages were. And like at that point, I was like, oh shit, like this is serious. As soon as they showed me those scans, I was on the phone with my parents saying, got admitted to the hospital. They're saying it's bad. We're going to, at the time, try and do stents. After like the initial shock wears off,
Their reaction to that? Because that's your parents. So like, what was their reaction to that?
he basically said, like, what are you talking about? It was just a routine check to get your baseline because of like family history. And I was like, I know, but they found something. We're all freaking out. He made my parents go into panic because my wife doesn't drive. My mom came to the hospital right away to make sure my wife was okay
Right.
and to get my wife back and forth between the hospital and the house if needed. Because at the time, my wife was 7.5 months pregnant on
Mm-hmm.
top of all of this happening. So it's like she needed someone there for support. God forbid she were to go into labor because of all the stress. My mom got there. The nurses and the doctors were taking care of me, so she couldn't care less what was going on at the moment. She just wanted to focus on my wife, to
Mm-hmm.
put it bluntly. As bad as that may sound, but it's like if something happened to me, they wouldn't have been able to help. I was in the best place for anything to happen to me at that point.
I don't know what are stents.
They go in through either your wrist or your groin to your heart with like it's imagine taking apart like it's a small device that goes into like the arteries in your heart. The best way to picture it is imagine them taking a mesh straw, inserting it through your wrist or your groin, depending
Oof.
on which is the easiest place to access for it,
Mm-hmm.
going up to the affected artery, and they expand the stent, compress the blockage in your heart to the
Yeah.
side walls, and it basically opens your arteries back up.
So it's by no means like A, an easy surgery, or B, a
Yeah.
comfortable surgery at all.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty
Yeah.
extensive for sure.
Yeah, but thankfully, with modern technology, getting stents put in, it's a relatively easy
Okay,
procedure
that's
today.
good.
Yeah, that would have been best case scenario for me. But when they got in, because of how my blockages were, stents couldn't work. They basically would have pushed the blockage into another artery and caused more issues. The first team couldn't get the stents in. They recommended me getting a bypass. And the hospital was like, no, he's 30 years old. We're not doing a bypass on a 30-year-old. That's ridiculous. Why would you even recommend that? So they brought in a more specialized team to try and do stents again a couple days later. Same situation. Didn't work because of the placement of the blockages. And they were like, no, he needs a bypass. Basically, emergency heart surgery that I wasn't prepared to get and expecting to get. They had to do a couple tests to make sure the arteries in my neck were good, the arteries in my legs were good, and like a whole bunch of other things to make sure I was healthy enough to make it through the procedure.
Yeah, do you have any time, like any time, whether it be 1 minute, 30 seconds, or like 5 minutes to like sit there and like mentally like tell yourself like, holy crap, like this is about to happen.
Yes, but it didn't feel like I had time to process it at the time because it was like one thing after another. It's like when I process something, something else was popping up that they needed to talk to me about. Because of my age, they wanted to make sure that they were going to do the procedure in a way that it would make the grafts last the rest of my life. Because I could live another 50 plus years being so young. So they were calling other cardiologists, other cardiac surgeons to basically see what the best case scenario is, what they needed to specifically do. So they ended up deciding that one of the arteries that they were going to use as the graft, as one of the bypasses, was removing the radial artery of my left arm. So basically, I don't know if you can see it in the camera, but I have a scar right here and a scar up near my elbow where they took the artery out of my arm right there
Wow.
and they took two out of my chest. This is basically where everything starts getting a little crazy. So before my surgery itself, so I ended up getting a triple bypass.
What is that for people that don't know?
Had to reroute the blood flow of three different arteries in my heart because of the blockages.
Okay.
So it's basically taking an artery from somewhere else in your body or from a cadaver or like a pig or something to go in and sew it to your heart to get that rerouted blood flow. So the blood flow is going through the new artery rather than the essentially the damaged artery that has the blockage. They tell me like all the stuff that they're going to have to do to me leading up to the surgery. Should only be like 2 or 3 days in the ICU, then up to 5 days in the cardiac unit, and then I'd be good to go home. And I would just have to do cardiac rehab. I would be out of work for a couple months while my chest healed. Day of the surgery was September 3rd. I don't remember anything about the morning of the surgery. I don't remember getting wheeled in or anything. I don't remember any of the conversations I had. The last thing I remember was from like 2 days prior, and I remember telling my wife, I know you don't want to have this conversation, but you know the risks of this type of surgery. I was like, if I don't wake up, I love you, and you're the best thing that's ever happened to me.
Wow.
I specifically made it a point to tell her that I loved her because this type of surgery is scary no matter how old you are. Big possibility that it could kill you. I just wanted to make sure that my family basically knew that I love them. And no matter what happened, I was happy. So it was just a lot to absorb.
Yeah.
And surgery happens. It ended up being about a 7.5, 8 hour surgery. which is a
Okay.
long time to be under anesthesia. They tell my family, like, oh, everything went fine. He's good. Don't worry about him. He's good. He's in good hands. And then within 12 hours is when everything basically took a turn for the worse.
Hmm.
So even though I made it through the initial surgery fine, they don't know why my body reacted this way, but next thing they knew, I was going into major heart failure. The right side of my heart basically stopped pumping blood, oxygenate the rest of my body, and basically my heart, the right side of my heart was giving up. Because of that, I ended up, my vitals started to tank. I lost a lot of blood. I lost about 40% of the blood in my body, which that alone can be fatal. They ended up having to connect me to life support. Specific type I was on, it was ECMO, which it takes the blood out of your body, it oxygenates it, and puts it back into your body. It basically acts like your heart and lungs so your heart and lungs can heal. Two tubes in my neck and two tubes in my groin where it was pulling the blood from and putting it back in. Ended up getting ECMO, which is, like I said, life support for about 10 days. Since
Gotcha.
my lungs weren't working on their own, they ended up partially collapsing, all of the blood loss and like my blood volume still being so low, my kidneys started to fail also. These things started to happen,
Yeah.
and it got to the point that they basically told my family, prepare for the worst. We don't know if he's going to live. Within 12 hours, it went from, oh, he made it through the surgery fine. He'll only be here for a couple days, tops, like a week and a half at most, to we don't know if he's going to survive. It's a lot.
This video is partnered with Bucked Up Energy. For men in their 20s, FDA advises capping the caffeine limit daily to 400 milligrams, equivalent 4 cups of coffee. Caffeine intake definitely does positive things, certainly have negative side effects to it. I am not sitting here and telling you that you should consume caffeine. I'm not telling you that you shouldn't consume caffeine. However, caffeine, major part of my life, 5 years. When I have caffeine, I feel normal, productive, I just feel like myself. Downside to that, don't have caffeine. Literally feel like I can't do anything. My head actually physically hurts. Mostly, I have become reliant on caffeine. It's one of the downsides to caffeine. Caffeine is an addiction. It can turn into an addiction. With Bucked Up Energy, 16 ounces, 300 milligrams of caffeine, 100 milligrams less daily dose average you're supposed to have. You don't have to have that. You can do low stint, 100 milligrams to 150 milligrams. That's a normal rate. You can go to Walmart and get same type of stuff for cheap. I just recommend Bucked Up because Bucked Up energy drinks, out of all energy drinks, made me feel by far the best. They just came out, commercial for the first time ever during the Super Bowl. It makes sense. It makes you feel like $1,000,000. And it really does. And I want you guys to experience that. If you want to get your hands on some Bucked Up energy while supporting your boy, use my code at buckedup.com, code NOLIMITS23, or use the link in the description. And if you have any questions at all, please let me know. This video is sponsored and partnered by Bucked Up. Yeah, baby. Sometimes I just crack open, Bucked Up, and all my troubles slowly but surely fade away. We're working with 3 different kinds. I was about to show you this flavor, but we have these Walgreens, thank God, fully stocked right now. Absolutely stoked. I prefer Bucked Up energy drinks over all any kind of energy drinks. Currently drinking Miami flavored Rocket Pop Blood Raz. Not new to Bucked Up, but you're new to me, and you're like, hey, I'm feeling bucked up. Energy drinks, protein, any type of supplement, no limits 23, no space, all caps, lowercase, doesn't matter, hands on, discount, Bucked Up, Blood Raz, Rocket Pop, and Miami. Out of these Miami flavor, I don't know how or why, makes me feel more energetic, alert, focused compared to these two. In general, play a huge impact day-to-day life, completely outside of the gym. Have a pre-workout, right? Just to drink, substitute a workout. If you're not on Bucked Up, go on Amazon. Use my Amazon link. You have to purchase the product all in the same session. You can't like go back in an hour or later that day. It has to be done in the same session. So what I would do, make a list of what you're gonna get, or put it in your cart. You have that, you know what you're gonna get. Click on that link, refill the cart with those. What does this link do exactly? I don't make any money off of this. Strictly help me, my fitness journey. More you buy, more I can upgrade this podcast, quality of content, opening a gym. Have yourself some Bucked Up drinks. And if you're new to me, hello and welcome. My name is Kyle Mara, and I I am the host of the Modern Mentality Podcast. I'm assuming you clicked on this other than listen to Matt. You want growth. You want to learn discipline. You want to learn how to just basically better your overall lifestyle. I'm here to help you, my friend. I apologize for being absent the last couple weeks with the episodes. My goal, the episode every single week for you guys. The last couple of weeks have not had a guest. Last week, every single day, working on car. Don't ask. It's a lot cheaper that way than bringing it to a mechanic. That's the reason why I haven't had anything really new lately. But just drop in-depth reaction to the first person. Been training ever since November. Watch that fitness side of me. If you're interested in it, I would love to help you. Modern Mentality, episode 12 with Matt Kovac. Enjoy the episode. Yeah, I mean, that's a lot to mentally, I'm basically by yourself before you went into the surgery, after you're talking to your wife, and then just all the times that you were by yourself. I don't know if you had any pep talks with yourself, I'm about to do this, we gotta come out on the other side or whatever.
Hooked me up on life support.
That's crazy, on life support. How did you ever think that you would, in your life, you would ever be hooked on life support?
No. Even leading into the surgery, I knew it was going to be a tough surgery. I didn't think it would get to the point that I would be getting hooked up to life support. I was like, I'm going to be in pain for a month and a half-ish while everything heals.
Yeah.
But definitely wasn't expecting life support. So on top of having to deal with the recovery of heart surgery now, I also had to go on dialysis. I was put on continuous dialysis about 3.5, 4 weeks, regular dialysis 3 times a week, hoping my kidneys would come back online. Thankfully, after 6 weeks, my body built up enough blood and my kidneys healed enough that I was able to come off dialysis and my kidneys are back to normal. So thank God I don't have to deal with dialysis. And I would not wish that on my worst enemy because it's just a horrible experience. I don't remember any of that. All of that is basically from what they told me after the fact. So I don't have memory of about 2.5, 3 weeks after they woke me up, allow my body to basically wake up. When I was lucid enough that they were able to talk to me, they took out the breathing tube so I could breathe on my own, start to talk again. They're like, hey, do you know what day of the week it is? I was like, I don't know. And I was like, isn't it Tuesday or something? Or Wednesday, the day after my surgery? And they're like, no. And they were like, do you know what number day of the week it is? Is September 5th or something? And I was like, oh, it's probably September 4th, the day after my the surgery. And they were like, no, it's September 14th at the time. And that made me go into a mini spiral. And I was like, what are you talking about? It's the 14th. What happened?
Yeah.
And that's when they told me about all the initial complications and they slowly eased me into conversation of everything that transpired in the last 2 weeks. Because up until that point, I had no idea. I was unconscious.
What was it like to basically hear all that to the senses with yourself, and then on top of that talking to your wife? Because obviously 10 days of you being out, she's probably thinking holy shit, he's dead. You were obviously very resilient throughout this whole thing. You're mentally, physically, because if you weren't, you probably wouldn't be here. It's a great thing that you are. So the point of this podcast, one of the things that I like to talk about is the resilience style or the tone of the conversation kind of shift, just because you were like, wow, I really did this, and we can really come out.
When I first saw my mom and my wife walk into the hospital room after they woke me up, I was bawling my eyes out because I was like, oh my God, my family is here. Thank God. And then once that initial shock wore off, I was kind of almost laughing to myself. And I even said to my family, and they hate it when I say this, I'm like, see, I told you I was too stubborn to die. I was like, you can't get rid of me that easily.
Hell yeah.
So I was trying to keep that almost dark humor aspect of it present in it, because I knew if I wasn't keeping my spirits up, it would just make everything 10 times worse. So even at my weakest, I was trying to have a positive outlook. And
Yeah.
like I was even saying to my nurses, go take care of the patients that need it more than me. One night, the one nurse turned around and looked at me and she was like, Steve, I really appreciate you saying stuff like that. But she was like, right now, you are the sickest patient in this hospital.
Oh wow.
You need it more than everyone else. And I was like, no, I don't. Go take care of someone else. I was like, if something goes wrong, you'll hear it on the monitor. I knew that I had that fight within me. I had the mentality of, I'm in the best place possible. God forbid something else happens. They would be there in a moment's notice.
Just goes to show and prove the type of person that
Yeah.
you are, which
Yeah.
is obviously charismatic
Mhm.
and kind and caring. Obviously, I didn't know that until you just shared that.
Yeah.
So that's honestly like that. I don't know a particular word, but that's just great to hear because
Yeah.
it just again it just goes to show you that you're just that type of person.
I had two stints in the hospital. The first one was like during like the main surgery. So I was in the hospital that time 28 days. Able to develop a relationship with all the doctors and nurses taking
Oh,
care of
nice.
me. And like there were some nights that they would like come into my room like when they were doing their rounds and like we'd be talking and like we'd be talking about like drama they're having with like the significant other
Oh
or like
yeah, yeah.
oh, like the one nurse was like, I really love my boyfriend, but he hasn't proposed yet. And I was like, well, he's missing out if he doesn't propose. Like, you're a great catch type of like thing.
Nice.
And like just like talking like about the nurses on like a personal level and building those relationships, like that is one of the things I can say helped me get through it the most because
Yeah.
instead of them treating me like just a patient
Hmm.
that they have to take care of,
Yeah.
I felt like they actually were involving me
Yeah.
in my care, talking to me like they were my friend in a
Yeah,
sense.
exactly. It's not just,
It
hey, how you doing?
just that great bedside manner that they had, and like I would always like see the like my cardiac surgeon like walk past like my
Mm.
room like when I was in the ICU, and I would make jokes to the one nurse all the time, and I'd be like, hey, can you tell Dr. Worley to stop ignoring me and come say hi? And they would all crack up, and like one day like they actually went up to him and they were like, Steve says to stop ignoring him and come say hi. And I see him laughing from the hallway. And he comes in and we talk for a couple minutes. And after that, like, he knew I was joking because that's just how I am as a person.
Yeah.
Like, I make jokes about dumb stuff like that all the time. And like, he was coming into my room, like, basically every other day just to see how I was. And I come to find out after the fact that the one nurse said to me, she was like, hey, you must have had a substantial impact on Dr. Worley because he doesn't normally come into the patient's rooms like this and talk to them on a more personal level after the initial surgery. And they were like, that just goes to show the impact you've had on people in the
Yeah.
cardiac wing to have all these people that don't normally interact with the patients
Yeah.
coming in to check in on you just to have that conversation with you. Of how young I was when all this happened. Like this happened less than a year ago at this point. So it happened when I was 30, so I'm 31 now. Case got all the way up to the higher ups in the company in the hospital. And the chief medical officer, which is an executive in the hospital, even know about me and ran into my parents one day and my wife in like the elevator and like they just got talking and they were like, "Wait, you're Steve's family?" He was like, "Oh my God, I've been following his case since he got admitted." He ended up developing a relationship with my parents and my
Oh,
wife, eventually made his way to my room like near the end of my stay just to be like, "Hey, I just want you to know everyone in the hospital knows about you and they're all rooting for you to get better."
that's awesome. What was the place that you went to?
Advent Health by USF. I was in the Pep and Heart Institute, which is like
Okay.
the cardiac wing of the hospital. Shout out to all of them for keeping me alive. One
What
thing I
about?
did want to add in
Oh
before
yeah,
we
go ahead, go ahead.
yeah, my cardiologist is also part of Advent Health. Her name is Dr. Hawk. If it wasn't for her doing that one initial scan, I 100% believe I would be fully disabled right now or dead. If it wasn't for her taking that initial initiative, that one scan, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her getting the ball rolling. If it wasn't for my cardiac surgeon, Dr. Worley, for being such a great surgeon, I would not be able to be here telling this story without doctors like them. I tell people all the time, even if you think you are 100% healthy, go to the doctors. I thought I was perfectly healthy, and next thing I know, I'm getting rolled in for emergency heart surgery. Don't know what you don't know. And you need to take that first initial step to actually go to the doctor to make sure you actually are healthy.
Good. Get checked. Everything happens for a reason too. She did what she did. It literally saved your life.
It did. And
So
it's funny
that's
because I told her throughout the whole process, I was like, Dr. Hawk, you saved my life. Because of everything you did during that initial visit with you, I was like, that saved my life. And she, no, I didn't save your life. God did. And I was like, whether you think it was God or not, he led me to your office and you were able to get the ball rolling.
yeah. Talk about
And
signs, you know.
yeah, and I told her, I was like, look, if it wasn't for extra time you took, we would be in a very different situation than we are now.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to look at it from like an almost like an outside perspective now, because after all like the surgery, the complications, you would think someone in my situation has a lot of heart damage and a lot of lingering issues, but I was able to make it through all of that with basically no heart damage, no long-term complications. The only thing that I have right now that'll improve over time is I have some scar tissue in my lung from the breathing tube and when they had to put the chest tubes in to make sure the fluid was draining out of my lungs. I had a guardian angel looking out for me to make sure that I was here, not only tell my story, it's like that higher power allowed me to make it through all of that so I could ultimately see my son born and my son grow up.
Really shifts your entire perspective on life.
Does.
I hope me saying this makes you feel good. From my perspective, you can't tell that you went through all this. You
Yeah,
just looks like a normal, which is awesome as a compliment rather than
yeah,
like.
it is. Yeah.
One thing I do with people is rapid fire questions. My first question is like biggest lesson, right? So
Not to take things for granted. The perfect lifestyle, the perfect diet, that doesn't automatically mean you're going to be healthy.
after all this, what are you most grateful for?
My family and the medical team that took care of me.
What was your hardest day during this, or if you had just like a straight up hardest week?
Probably like the week and a half after I woke up,
Okay.
trying to come to terms with everything. And then on top of all of that, I was hallucinating really bad. Getting through that initial shock allowed my body to heal and come off all those drugs, so I was more lucid.
Happiest moment for you after your surgery?
3 weeks after I got, about 3.5, 4 weeks after I got discharged, my son was born. I was cleared to be able to lift him 2 weeks before he was born. He was born October 30th, and I got discharged early October.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Assuming he's doing good and everything.
Yes, he's
Awesome.
8 months old on Tuesday already.
Beautiful. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Does he look more like you, or I mean, I know it's still kind of young, obviously super young and everything, but
It's 50-50. So my wife is Filipino. So
yep.
like he has like the Filipino traits and
Okay.
the traits for me.
When he's like older and able to like understand stuff, you'll probably end up telling him this story. Do you think, or
Yes.
yeah?
Yeah. And not only am I going to tell him this story, ultimately ended up causing the issue of everything was a genetic condition that we
Oh yeah.
found out after the fact. Getting him checked for certain genetic markers to make sure he doesn't have it also, so he doesn't have to go through what I did.
One word you would say to describe this journey of yours, if you could put it into one word, and it could be like resilient or just hard as fuck.
There's no one word that can really justify it. Part of the journey would be a different work. Initially, fucking horrible. Overall, eye-opening.
One message to anyone facing a health scare.
Don't focus on the negative because the more you focus on the negative, the harder it will be for you to heal. I was bedridden for about 3 weeks. I basically had to relearn how to walk because my muscles atrophied. I had no strength left. And if I focused on oh, now I have to relearn how to do this, or I can't do this, I can't do that, I'm so restricted, it would have made my journey so much more difficult. So when you're going through something difficult on a health related journey, if you get too caught up in the negative, it will only make your situation feel 10 times worse. Try and focus on the little victories, even if there's nothing you can really see as a victory. You can shift and say, all right, even though I backtracked a little, I am still here. I am still pushing through this journey and just be grateful for that chance to get better and improve.
Something that you think you would literally be saying to yourself when you're by yourself laying in a hospital bed, your family's not there, it's like 3 a.m. or whatever, and it's literally dead silent. A time in someone's life where there's literally no one else around them, and it's just them in the moment, and like their
Mhm.
subconscious mind is being like is basically they're trying to fight and be
Mhm.
like stay positive. So do you think that would be something you would be saying, or do you think you would be saying something a little bit more intense or differently? Or
It depends on the situation, but along the same lines. So it's like one of the things I was telling myself when I was in that situation of it was like 3 a.m. and I couldn't sleep in the hospital bed. Because after sleeping in a hospital bed for 3 weeks, they're super uncomfortable.
yeah,
Like I was thinking to myself, like I had to catch myself a couple times and be like, man, this really sucks. But I was like, but I'll be able to go home soon. And can you imagine the things I'm going to be doing from a year from now? I was like, I can't wait until I'm healed and I get to tell this story of look at all this stuff I made it through.
to know about your tattoos that you got. Did you get your leg finished with the
I did, yeah.
yeah?
I had all the outlining done and I
Mhm.
was supposed to get it colored in September, but then all this stuff happened. So I actually just recently got it finished.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure I saw it on Facebook
Yeah, I
actually.
posted the picture on Facebook, I think last week.
Yeah,
So
so that's
I,
awesome.
I finally got it all colored in, so I was happy about it. And it's funny that you mentioned that because one of the things that the nurses and doctors loved about like me being a patient, one of the youngest people there going through something like this, had all these tattoos. They would pop in and be like, "Hey, are you the guy with the awesome tattoos we keep hearing about?" And I was like, "Yeah, do you want to see them?" And they'd be like, "Can we please?" And we'd be like, "We don't want it to be weird, but can we see your tattoos?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, come in. Like you can see the tattoos." And
That's
like they would
awesome.
be like, "Oh my God, those are so cool. We can't wait until we see them finished."
Yeah, right? That's
Yeah,
awesome. Love the camaraderie of
yeah,
it rather than it literally just
yeah,
being you're here because of this reason. You thinking
yeah.
about getting anything else, or is that it for now?
That's it for now. I probably will hold off on any more for a couple years just so we could focus on other stuff right now instead of spending
Yeah.
money on that.
Don't know if you are on like social media consistently like that, but let the people know what you're up to.
I've thought about starting a book, and like a
Okay.
bunch of my nurses and doctors actually told me that they would like to see me write something about this because
Yeah.
of everything I went through, and like not only with the surgery and like my recovery, but dealing with all this while my wife was like 7 months pregnant, made my world implode in a sense. Implosion caused room for growth in other
It's
areas. Yeah.
great seeing you, talking to you,
Yeah,
and
it
hearing from you
was.
again. I'm
Yeah,
really happy to know that you're doing well and everything, man.
yeah.
It's awesome.
And before we conclude, there
Yes,
is
sir.
one final thought that I would like to share.
Absolutely.
So it's actually next to me right now. So when you go through a cardiac journey, you are often given something similar to what I'm about to show.
Okay.
And on it, it says, because we care.
Okay.
And it is this pillow
Oh, look at that.
in the shape of a heart. So when you are like doing certain motions when you first heal, you have to basically hold it on your chest like this, cut your chest bone, and it allows for you to do certain movements. Substantial pain. I hope nobody has watching this episode ever has to see that pillow besides that brief moment I showed it. And on the back, it has a like a diagram of a
Oh
heart,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and the background is kind of blurred, but like a bunch of like my nurses
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
signed the pillow and everything.
I just learned something new today. It's
Yeah,
a great reminder, honestly, more so than
yeah,
anything, of
yeah,
just what you went through, what you beat,
hmm
what you accomplished.
yeah,
And yeah, dude, your story will definitely resonate with a shitload of people. So I'm
yeah,
really I'm happy that you were comfortable enough to come on
yeah,
here and talk about it, and that you're going
yeah,
to be continuing to talk about it, because it's definitely important, especially from a male aspect. Like a lot of guys, sometimes they try to play the tough card, and
yeah,
they're like, I don't need to go to the doctor or something
yeah,
like that. And yeah, like you said, you never know, and it could literally just
yeah,
be another day,
yeah,
and your
yeah.
whole world can flip. So
And
yeah, go ahead.
I can say if I had that type of mentality of, oh, I don't need to go to the doctor, I may not be here to tell this story. And
Mm.
since I am very vocal with telling people my story, after my initial surgery, we had two family friends that ended up going for a checkup as well.
Okay.
And one of them found out that he has to monitor his heart. He had no idea. Another family friend ended up needing to get a bypass as well. And he initially had no idea either. And
Wow.
they both of them basically told my parents if we weren't as vocal as I was with my story and everything that happened, they probably wouldn't have gone to get checked. You may unknowingly be helping someone take that initial step to get better.
Perfectly well said, sir. Perfectly well said.
Yeah.
Well, that's gonna do it for this episode. This was great. So much content from this and everything. And
Yeah.
again, it was great talking
Yeah,
to
it
you.
was.
So I appreciate you again taking the time out of your schedule to do
Yeah,
this, and
definitely.
I'd really like to do this again very soon.
Yeah, definitely. Just let me know when you want to set something else up. We could build off like this episode.